Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and especially you, nephew, welcome back to another Union Arena video. Now, for today, we got the yellow Nobara deck. This one's pretty cool. Pretty cool. This is one of the ones that I went up against, and I was like, I gotta at least try it. It's not extremely strong, but it is viable. It's playable. It's not like the Elric Brothers deck, which I swear is designed to lose the game. But this one, you can make a well trip or have a good trip with it. But for this video, we're going to be going over the deck list. We have 3 games for you, and then we're going to be talking about some deck changes. So yeah, let's just hop right into it. For our 0 cost for this deck, we're only running 2 0 cost Nobaras and 0 cost Shokos. This 0 cost Nobara is our raid target for the deck. We are only running 1 raid, which is this Nobara, which we'll get to in a second. And then for this 0 cost, it's just a simple draw 1, trash 1, and also a bit more consistency for the start of the game. For our 1 cost, we have this Toge Inumaki, which is our double energy generator. When played, return up to 1 character from your field with 1 or less required energy to your hand, and if you cannot, return this character to your hand. Now, normally I don't like playing these cards, but I felt like this deck needed a bit more consistent double energy generation, so we can get this Gojo out. I was having problems with that before I made these changes, so I added 3 of him and 3 of these Maki Zenins, which is when this character is active, this gains double energy generation, or it becomes a double energy generator. Since we're on the topic, let's talk about this Nobara, which is also a double energy generator, but it has, when played, if there's a resting character on your opponent's field, add up to 1 yellow event card from your, or with 2 or less required energy from your sideline to your hand. And so that will be these 2 straw doll techniques, which we'll cover in a second. But if you notice at a Kinai, it says if your opponent has a resting character, and that's what this deck is all about, resting your opponent's characters, KOing them through the resting them, or just getting them out the way for turns so you can attack them, attack their life. That's what this deck is really strong at. So going back to the order, our 2 cost is this Nobara Kugasaki, and it is if on the front line, or activate main, if on the front line, switch to resting, and choose one of your opponent's characters on their front line, switch it to resting. So you rest this to rest any character on your opponent's front line, which is extremely strong. The downside is you lose an attacker, but if you are using this correctly, you rest 3,000, or you essentially think of it as forcing a block. You can rest a 3000 BP character, which is this Nobara Kugasaki, and rest like a 5k Gojo. So you're forcing them to lose that blocker, or lose a nullify impactor, or something of important value that you want out of the way for your turn. Our other 2 cost is this Inumaki. Only running 2 of these. I think it's good at a 2 of, but I'll talk about changes later. I really am only running him because he's a low cost character to play. 1 second. Okay, I hope y'all can't hear my roommate downstairs. He's downstairs, but he's got a big voice. But yeah, so this Toge Inumaki is a nullify impactor, which is his main purpose for this deck. And he does have an activate main, I just don't use it. You pay 1 AP, and all characters on your front line gain 1000 BP until the end of turn. I don't use it in these 3 games because it costs 1 AP. There's another card that costs an extra AP that's stronger than this effect, I believe. And we'll get to that in a second. But really cheap nullify impactor, so I threw in 2 of them. For our next cost, we already went over this one. So let's go to these Gojos. For our 4 cost Gojo, it is double blocker. So if this character blocks for the first time, switch it to active. It does need to survive. so you can't just block out for free. But you can block, you know, something smaller than 3500, switch it back to active, and then block again something or anything at that point because you've used both your blocks. But as the bonus effect of during opponent's turn, your opponent cannot choose this character with abilities on character or event cards unless they pay 1 AP as an additional cost. And this is also our color trigger for the deck, so we're running 4 of them. So yeah, really sticky body, hard to be removed unless your opponent is fine with spending the extra AP. And that's important for another card in this deck. But before we get to that, let's go over these these Straw Doll Technique cards. We have our regular domain expansion AP restander, but this is, I don't want to say it's bad because it has its bonuses. So this is our special trigger for the deck. Yeah, our special trigger for the deck, but it's not a normal sideline event like other decks. This one is choose 1 active character on your front line and 1 character on your opponent's front line and switch them to resting. If Nobara Kugasaki is on your field, choose up to 1 of your AP cards and switch it to active. And you know that's normally going to happen, having 1 of these Nobaras on your field. So it's a way to rest 1 of your bodies to rest an opponent's body, similar to this Nobara Kugasaki, but you can just use any character on your front line instead. And as long as 1 of these Kugasakis is on your field, you get to restand your AP, and that is, it's strong-ish. Because like I said, the strong point of this Nobara is you are trading a weaker body to rest a higher cost body. But with this, you don't normally have, or you really have to force setup trading a weaker body for a stronger body in this deck or with this card, because you don't really want to be, you know, resting your Gojos to rest something else. But at the same time, this combos perfectly into the actual removal part of her events, which is this card, the Straw Doll Technique Hairpin. Choose 1 resting character on your opponent's front line and sideline it. And so no limit on what you can sideline as long as it's resting. So it combos with this card, combos with this Nobara, and with the other card, which isn't an event, but it's a site card we are only running 2 of because we don't have that many Gojos in this deck. But when played, choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line and switch it to resting. It will not switch to active during the start or end phases while this site is on your field. At the end of each attack phase, if Satoru Gojo is not on your front line, sideline this site. So this can force a character to never be activated outside of triggers, or event cards that they might have or abilities they might have, until the Gojo that's on the board leaves. So and the Gojos do have to be on the front line. There are ways around it, like you can fill out your board and replace the card that's frozen, put it into your remove from play area, but you are forcing your opponents to do that. And if it's a card that you want out, you can combo it as well with this hairpin technique, especially if you don't think your Gojo will survive into the next turn. And so that's why it combos well into this Gojo, which is forcing your opponent to use an additional AP if this is on the field. So you have to remove this Gojo, use an additional AP, and then that'll remove the stage, and then they'll get their character back. So let's go over our big cards for the deck. So our Raid Nobara, really, I actually wouldn't classify her as like a big card. This is more of the mid game Raid design, and her Raid is actually pretty cool, or the Raid card is pretty cool. It is a Raid card, but it has an effect outside of Raid, so you can play this outside of a Raid if you want to, and just as a regular card. And if it's not rated or rated, it doesn't matter. But if it's not rated, it has the activate main to pay 1 AP, and this character gains double damage. And then when it's rated, when played, choose one character on your opponent's front line and switches to resting. It will remain set to resting the next time it will be switched to active. So another way to combo into your hairpin technique. So that's why I think this is a strong idea, because of the flexibility you have to sideline rested cards, and the different amount of ways that cards can become rested. Even this color trigger will rest an opponent's card, and it'll switch, or it won't switch until the next time it's switched to active. So if they trigger this out, you rest and freeze a body, and on your turn you can KO it with this hairpin technique. And especially because you can grab both of these events back with this Nobara, it makes it really strong when you're able to continuously recycle one of these two from your trash to your hand over and over again. But it's just a lot of steps. That's what I should say. It's a lot of steps. Maybe I was playing it wrong and was messing up with my AP usage, but it's a lot of steps. But it's still strong. So yeah, that's this Nobara's Raid. Pretty strong card, and this is the AP use I was talking about, where I would rather save my AP to give her double damage and force them to block out in a awkward way. There's a game where I actually get to pull that off, especially because of our actual big cost. This Gojo, 6 energy cost, 2 action points. This character is just a regular character, not a raid. It automatically has impact, and when played, draw a card and reduce the AP cost of the next card you use from your hand this turn, other than Satoru Gojo, by 1. So yeah, that's every card in this deck just becomes a free play, except for this Gojo, because they share the same name. But every other card becomes a free play from your hand. It doesn't combo into this where you have to pay 1 AP. That's not how this card is worded, but it does allow you to continue the combos with one of these, especially if you have this, because you can play this out for your last 2 AP, free play this straw doll technique, which if you have a Nobara on your field, it'll stand an AP back up, so then you have another AP to use, and then you can play the Gojo from your active AP if you want, or any of these other cards that you want to combo into. I don't pull that off. I see the line, but it just wasn't really the time to do it. But it is an option for you. So yeah, that's the deck. And with that being said, let's hop right into the games. These games go for a bit longer than normal. I'm going to put it at 2 times speed, but this might be a long video, so grab your snacks, grab your popcorn. What else does Corey Kenshin say? I mean, I can say whatever he's going to say because he's not going to come back and sue me. But yeah, if I'm remembering this correctly, I believe this is a green deck I go up against. So let's put this to 2 times speed and start it up. Oh no, this is, yeah. So I went up against the Marleyan Titans deck, which kind of sucks because they have the Armor Titan, which has the same effect as my Gojo, where you have to pay an extra AP to target it with characters or abilities. But let me stop spoiling stuff and let's see how the game turns out. But I start the turn, or they start with an Annie, draw 1, trash 1, and I start with a draw 1, trash 1 as well. And then I use my 1 cost Toge to bounce that draw 1, trash 1 back to my hand, preparing to play it out next turn and getting my double energy generation ready. And they have their own extreme ramp. It's a lot of energy generation this game. I'm not really a ramp deck. They are the ramp deck, but it just turns out to be that way. trying to get to 6 for this Gojo. So here I am trying to, I want to figure out the best way to do this. I think I played that out of order. I play this to the front line just as a blocker, so he doesn't get any free swings in. She's better off played to the energy line, so you can move her up afterwards, then use her effect. But I didn't want them to get an early lead because I know that they have this Bertolt that is, you know, damage 3, impact 1, Reiner, which is impact 1, or depending which Reiner they had, there's one with impact 1 and there's one that sidelines a character. So just preparing to not take any early free hits, while also pressuring to take their energy generation, at least out of the front line, pushing them back just a little bit, delaying them just a little bit, and making my plays from there. Now, I believe they are proccing this Reiner effect, which is draw 2, trash 2, I believe. But yep, their energy is getting set up nicely. They got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 already, so they're actually pretty prepared to do their we're doing this now combo, if they had it. So I want to, with that being said, I do play this sort of weirdly. I get saved by the AP draw. I don't think I would have made this play if I didn't draw into this Maki. But I push one up to the front line and then play out this Maki to the energy line. And then AP restand, set this to resting to rest their Bertolt. And then because I have 2 of these Nobara cards to take one out of my trash and into my hand, I decide to use this effect early to slow down their energy generation. Actually, this is something. So this isn't my first game with this. Well, this is my first game with this version of the deck. I was testing out all these cards before, but I didn't have enough energy generation. I just got steamrolled. It just wasn't worth watching. And I basically reinvented the entire deck from there. But something I made a mistake of before is using this the Straw Doll technique to KO their resting card before I played out this Nobara. And if you do that, this Nobara effect does not go off because they no longer have a resting card on their front line. So I have to play this Nobara first to grab the Straw Doll technique that I've already trashed and from the trash to my hand, and then use that card to KO his Bertolt, pushing him back at least 1 energy and getting the first swing in. They do get a sideline trigger, unfortunate, and they take care of my Nobara, which is the right target. But I do have my other Straw Doll technique card or both my Straw Doll technique cards in hand to get rid of anything they have on the front line if necessary. But let's see how they do. So they and then I get another one to trash. So they so this actually, I believe the play that I made did save me a little bit, because they spent this whole turn resetting their energy, because this was on the energy line. There was nothing on the front line, so they had 1, 3, 6, 8. Yeah, they would have had 8, 9 energy if I didn't KO that Bertolt, and they pushed up this Annie, and they didn't push up this Annie, and that would have given them leeway to raid in a Bertolt or a Reiner if they wanted to. Probably not actually no, they do have this Reiner they can use, but a Bertolt or Reiner to their front line, putting me in a much harder situation. Because they already trashed a Colossal Titan, I assume they have one in hand, but they spend this whole turn rebuilding their energy generation, like I said, and that goes straight to the trash. Now this card does have a trigger. the sideline event, the actual sidelining event part of my sideline event. But I still think it's not too bad because of this Nobara that can grab it from the trash. So I do it again. I play the straw doll technique resonance to rest my Shoko, I think that's her name, to re-rest this Reiner, and then I have Nobara on field, so I stand one up as active. And yep, before I do the that straw doll technique, I need to grab one from the trash to KO him, and then I can play this to the front line and then attack once more, threatening them to lose a body, but they get a trigger instead. This is unfortunate. They get a trigger that reduces even more energy from their Marleyan Titans, and I believe it searches. Oh no, it plays out a 3 or less green Marleyan warrior, I believe. So they get to play out an Annie from their hand for free off the raid trigger. So still a close game. I have the life lead by 1, but they have their raids on board. I have no raids in hand, and they're now switching their Bertolt sideways, which can only mean one bad thing, that they got their Colossal Titan and they're ready to play it. Playing it over the Bertolt so he doesn't have to get sidelined. And then that KOs 0 costs from the front line when played, and it also has impact 1 and damage 3. So yeah, just like that, it's very much in their favor currently. Sort of counters to my deck, because I do want to be resting the having the zeros on the front line to rest with my resonance effect. With the resonance effect to rest my zeros on the front line, but if they play him out, all of them just get KO'd. So I do get the special trigger here, and I cannot trigger out for this Reiner because when played for 1 turn, he can't be targeted by triggers. So it's between this Annie and this Annie. I can free block this Annie, and I would want their front line to be a little bit weaker on my return turn, and I'm gonna have to block this Reiner to just take the 1 damage instead. So I decided on their raid Annie just to get that 4K off of the field. You see I almost did it to get rid of an attacker, but that attacker really doesn't mean much to me. I'm just gonna block with this Nobara and then take the 1. And I gotta remind my opponent. That goes, and I get an active trigger, which is unfortunate because I would much rather have that card in hand. But I do have my raid in hand now. Gotta stop dropping my microphone. That's 2 videos in a row. I'm sorry, y'all. I push up this Nobara to the front line, and oh yeah, I accidentally clicked again to go to and I went back to attack. So they give me the turn back, and we just put the cards back to the top of our decks. And so this is one of the cooler things you can do with this deck. If there's a Nobara on your front line that doesn't have the rest thing, you can use this resonance to rest your own Nobara, resting something on the front line. I'm playing this to the energy line just for next turn, and then I can use this straw doll technique to KO what I rested, and then I can raid my Nobara over the one I just rested. Or just play it, that's fine as well, to fill up my front line. Resting and freezing their Annie, and now I get 2 swings in. Unfortunately, you know, this might have been a misplay. This might have been a misplay. I think there's a better play for me here. So let's go back. Let's go back and think this through a little bit more. I think the play here should be the resonance, resting my Nobara and freezing or resting the yeah. So if I use Charlotte Technique Resonance, rest my own Nobara to rest their Annie, and then raid my use my raid Nobara onto the Kugisaki I rested, that would all cost 1 AP total. I would have 2 more left. Raiding that, I could have rested and frozen the Colossal Titan. And then I would have had 2. So then I could have used okay. Then yeah, I could have used, so I just should not have played this Nobara. That's where I made my mistake. Because when we get to the end of it all, just go for it. Yeah, when we get here, if I didn't play the Nobara, I would have just had 2 attackers on the front line, but I could have used that last AP to give her double damage, which they would have had no blockers, so they've been taking 2 and then taking 1, so it would force 3 damage out. Doing it this way, I don't have the AP to use her second effect, or her first effect technically, to give her double damage. So I only get 2 damage here. But if I did do double damage, they would be down to 2 life instead of 1. They get a color trigger here, which is play out a 3 or less green card from your hand. And then the sim has been bugging all day. If you guys haven't noticed, I am in the same shirt as last episode because I'm playing these back to back. But yeah, the sim has just been bugging all day. So I'm trying to let them know that it took 2 life from them. They should be at 3 life here. And I'm trying to let them know that, but I don't think they see it. Nor do I think they care, because I'm pretty sure this game is over. Because yeah, they have 2, 4, 6, 9 energy, and so that's just enough for their we're doing this event to search for 2 characters and then play out 2 characters or raid out 2 characters. And they have the perfect setup. Actually, no, they don't. They actually do something crazy here. They do have enough to raid in, or they do have the cards to raid in the Colossal Titan. Once they figure out their energy, yeah, there it is. The Colossal Titan and this Annie with the 9-cost event, right? So that leaves them with 1 AP standing. But then this Annie is play up to 1 character card with 3 or less required energy and 1 AP from your hand resting on your field, and they play out this Annie Searcher, which searches the top 3, I believe, for Marleyan Warrior, and then they find the Reiner, and so then they get to raid out the Reiner with their final AP. So huge turn for my opponent here, really putting me in a bad spot, especially with this 3 damage and impactor, and I have no cards in hand on the clapback anyways. So I have to take this, add this to my hand. Oh, right. So because I have 4 energy, I actually do get to rest. Oh, right. Okay, I remember this now. So he says game started. I don't know what he meant by that, but he leaves right after this. So I get this raid trigger, and I'll have to check. Maybe I should just read this card again, because I get this raid trigger, and the trigger itself is add this card to hand, and if you have enough energy to raid with it, perform raid with it. So I do perform the raid, and then the raid effect is to rest an opponent's card, and it will stay resting until or when their next update is active. So, but I don't know if this counts as a trigger effect, because that determines on whether or not I can arrest this Reiner or not. Because it's not the actual trigger text that says it, it's the character text. I believe I can arrest this Reiner, saving me from the 3 damage and impact. Then I can just take one more, and that would be from this Annie. But even then, on the returning turn, let's see. If it works like that, he will be rested and frozen. This is a 5k with nullify impact, and then another 4k. So let's try to talk this one out. So I'll be at 2 life. Let's just assume it's a non-trigger card. And then I draw whatever. Either way, I have to start going for game on the next turn. So they would have a 4k and a 5k with nullify impact. I will push up this Maki to the front line, and then use both the AP to give both my Nobaras double damage. So then I would attack with one, forcing a block, attack with another one, forcing the other block, and then swinging twice more with the Maki and Gojo. Yeah, so that would have been, yeah. So it would have been game either way, because they do just end up leaving here. Even though I was trying to ask about the trigger ruling, but I'm pretty sure I would have been able to do that play. So I do take the first game with the updated list. So let's jump into game 2 and go to 2x speed. So I have my draw one, trash one into my Inumaki bounce card. And then, yeah, I'm normally trashing these side, or the cards I can grab back with my Nobaras on my trashing effects. But I do play this Inumaki, which means I have to bounce this back to hand, and then I get to play this Kugisaki to my energy line. Setting up for next turn to push this up, and then playing out this draw one, trash one again into something else. Actually, no, I can't do that. I think I just narrated the mistake I'm about to make. Okay, never mind. I don't make the mistake. Good job, Donovan. Good job, Donovan. Good job, Donovan. So I sideline. I draw one, trash one again. I have 4 energy, so I get to play this to the front line. And then, I believe I just pass here. Yeah, I don't want to use my Kugisaki effect too early, especially because I only have 1 Kugisaki on the board, and that's the one that I want to keep unrated, so I can use her effect to continuously rest their front line. They get this Sukuna to arrest, or when played, you get to rest and it does not become active, but they said they don't want to rest it. That's a choice. I don't know why. I don't know why they said they don't want to rest it, because now it has double block. So this is what I was talking about, where I can just block out both these next attacks. If they just rested and frozen it, unless I'm missing something. Let me see. Let me see if I misread the card. Choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line, switch to resting. It will remain resting the next time it's just active. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Reveal 1 Sukuna's Finger or Malevolent Shrine card among them. Add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Yeah, they just decided not to deal 3 damage to me this turn. I don't understand it, but I was like, okay, if you say so, man. Because that's literally a free 3 damage. I get an active trigger, so it would have been it still wouldn't have turned out, because then my double block is active again. But I now have the energy generation I need, so I can move this to the front line. Or no, do I still make a mistake here? Play this to the energy line. And then yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then I play this to the energy line to arrest and freeze their Sukuna, their Wraith Sukuna. Maybe there are better targets for this Infinite Void, but I thought this was fine enough. And then I get to arrest and freeze this Yuji for turn, forcing them to lose their blockers if they want to block out, or take the life. They get a draw trigger and a final trigger. So the Yuji's unfrozen and should be active again. Or no, he should not. He does not become active. He just becomes unfrozen. And then they get the Divergent Fist, and they do pay the extra AP to get rid of it, and then my Infinite Void will go away at the end of their attack phase. So yeah, I'm just waiting on the attack phase to end, and then I can sideline this. I don't know why my opponent is rushing me so much, but it's whatever. I decide to AP draw, looking for the because now is really my last chance to either find the Nobara to grab my Straw Doll technique from the trash back to my hand, or just find the Straw Doll technique outright. But I don't find it, unfortunately. So I just develop playing this to the energy line, AP restanding, playing, and yeah, now I can play my Gojo to the front line, giving me a 4K blocker, and then the Gojo effect to cheat out this Nobara, filling up my front line once again, and getting me an attack. And I did forget to draw, and giving me an attack, and they just block out. So they play out this Yuji Itadori, which I believe it reduces the cost of Sukunas in your hand, depending on how many fingers are in your trash. Sukuna's fingers are in your trash. Which I'm forgetting what that says. I believe that's during your turn. So they go into attacks. Yeah, and the sim bugs again, so we have to go over to my end. So I take one of them and block out the other, because he is a 5K body, so I do get free blocks on the 4Ks. And now it's officially my turn. So I AP draw again. And yeah, I'm letting them know that the bugs have been worse today. And then let them know I AP drew. Move that to the front line. I think the idea was to make space for this second Maki I have in hand. But instead I used domain expansion. Play this to the energy. Oh no, right. That's the mistake I made. I moved her to the front line, which I should not have. But I figured out how to play with it anyways. So now I am resting their little cost, or their smaller bodies, so that they're forced to block with their bigger bodies. I think that was a mistake, though. I think what I should have done is frozen this Sukuna and forced him to block out with this Yuji, because this Yuji is reducing the Sukuna that he has in hand. So I should have rested either the Sukuna or this Yuji, because yeah, during your turn, if on the front line, this is reducing his Sukunas by 2 energy at this point. So yeah, I should not have rested this one. Should have rested one of these two. but we'll see how that affects me. And this is the play I was talking about. Moving this Kugasaki up to the front line, using my resonance effect to rest her, to rest another, and then raiding over the rested Kugasaki to essentially restand her, getting back my attacker. So huge combos with this deck, and this actually is the point where I was talking about. So I rest both of my AP cards to give both of these damage too. So yeah, if I had rested the other Yuji or other Sukuna instead, it probably would have been much better. Because I'm not going for game here. I'm punishing them not blocking. So they lose in Itadori, and then they take one more, going down to 2 life. And then that one's just a free block, unfortunately. But yeah, I really should have forced this Yuji out. Like I said, I'm new to the game. I didn't know what they were preparing for with this. If I would have even used this Kugasaki to only leave this Yuji standing and then use the double attack and impact. But this is what they were trying to get out. So this is a 7-cost Sukuna. So if I had gotten rid of this, they would have only been at 2, 4, 6. They would have needed one more. They could have still made that play. If they just needed one more energy generation. But it would have just made it more difficult if I had gotten rid of that Yuji. But because they have so many cards in their sideline, he gets this huge effect which KOs a there's 3 fingers in sideline, so let me just read it. Choose one of these abilities you have below. If you have 3 Sukuna's fingers in your sideline, choose 2 instead. If you have 4 or more, choose all. And the effects is draw a card. Your opponent places 1 card from their hand to their sideline, or all characters with 2,500 or more BP lose 2k until the end of turn, and then choose up to 1 character with 3k or less on your opponent's front line and then sideline it. So they decide to subtract 2k from everything and then sideline my Gojo. And I'm just letting them know that I'm not finna click all these buttons to give minus 2k. And then they get the Malevolent Shrine out, giving this Sukuna double damage and snipe. It has impact as a base, so that's fine. They attack in for 2,000. Why did I do that? There's a reason for me to do that. Oh, right. Everything on my board is at 2,000 right now. 2,000 or below. So if I had blocked with anything, it would have went away. That's why I took that life. Taking both of these lives because I knew the snipe was coming, so I wanted to keep as much of my board as I possibly could. And then they'll snipe me out my Nobara, and it actually bugs out. So I let them know to select it again. And yeah, and it's still bugged. So take it, it's an active trigger, and throw it in the trash. Unfortunate, but I AP draw again, just looking for something to save me, but I don't think I have it. No raids, no raids in hand, nothing that comes out active in hand. I just say GG's and I call it there, because there's no way I can get past anything. If I were to rest any card on their front line, it will mean I'm resting my Nobara. If I were to use this Nobara effect to give her double damage, she just gets blocked because she doesn't have impact. These Gojos come out rested. They are 5k, but he is an impact with 5k, and they have Malevolent Shrine on board, so that would just give him double damage or snipe again, and it's just GG's from there. So I just call it there, and we lose the second game. But let's go into the last game for the day. Setsino. Also, shout out to Setsino. I guess he watches the channel, or he or she watches the channel. I'm not familiar if I've seen your name in the comments or something, but shout out to you. Good games to you, my brother or sister or nephew. For some reason, like I said, Sim has been bugged all day, so cards haven't been loading in. They play out an Armin, which is a draw one, trash one. And let me put this in 2x speed. And I get the Nobara into Inumaki, bouncing my Nobara back to hand, but giving me my double energy generation and setting me up nicely for the rest of this game. Excuse me. So I get a little bit greedy here. I play this Nobara to the front line because of the ODM gear event that plays out. Oh my lord, I'm just gonna carry it. That plays out two 104th Cadet Corps units. I think 3 energy or less to your front line as active, and they return to your hand at the end of turn. So the reason of playing this Kugasaki to the front line is she is 3000 BP, so she can block out those littler bodies without losing her life, and so it'll stop me from taking one of the extra damage. That was the idea behind it. Either the ODM gear event or the other Armin that cheats out a body and it does the same thing, but it's just one card. So I was just trying to get ahead of the aggression before it got over me. But unfortunately, this deck has options. So yeah, once they play this Armin out, I'm like, oh no, well, they have the Mikasa, don't they? And they sure do. So if her one played effect is KO a 3500 or less. And the sim bugs against me as well. It's to play, so she KOs my Nobara. It would have been no matter what, because of this Armin, she could have KO'd a 4K if she wanted to. But I get a yellow trigger, a color trigger, so it will rest and freeze this Mikasa. And I do choose the Mikasa here. And the sim bugs against me, and it takes 2 damage for some reason. I don't know what's been going on with the sim. So I just played to the front line, and I explained to my opponent that he's supposed to be in my life, but if it's all cool with him, I'll just leave him in the sideline and just put the next card in my deck to my life. So it's still random, instead of me knowing that I have another color trigger in my life. Unfortunate, because I would much rather have the color trigger in my life. But yeah, it is what it is. So, but yes, the color trigger. Color trigger is really good in this deck, because now I can use this Nobara effect because she's rested to grab a card from my trash if I wanted to. If I had the sidelining straw doll technique in my hand, I can just get rid of this Mikasa, and I think that's what I do. I AP draw here looking for it, but do I find it is the question. Yeah, so I do AP draw here, don't find it, unfortunately. So I just have to turn to setting up again, and what do I do here? Yeah, just set up my energy line, take these next damages as they come. Unfortunate, but just didn't draw correctly anyways. So they get this Armin out. This is the Armin I was talking about. When you play this the energy line, you can cheat out a what is it called? A 3 or less 3 or less 104 Cadet Corps unit as active, and then bounce it back to your hand. And then this Armin is, if this card is returned to your hand by your own effects, you can sideline it to draw 2, and then sideline 1 more. But I get a raid Kugasaki, and this he never unfroze this Mikasa, which is fine because I got the raid Kugasaki, so I just raided her on and refroze her so she couldn't attack. And hopefully I can get something to use her thing on. I misclicked here. I meant to click him because I was thinking this Armin is cheat 2 out, but that's the ODM gear effect. So yeah, I reread it and I realized that I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm wrong. That's my fault. But now it is my turn, so I have to decide what I want to do with it. I think I want to get this Gojo out. So I want to play out this Nobara. Yeah, I misplayed. There's no point of me playing this Toge anymore. I really only need one of him. I want to play out this Nobara to play out the Gojo, and the Gojo will cheat out the next Nobara. Should be this other, this other set rested one to the front line, rebuilding my front line and allowing me to attack, forcing them to either lose a body or lose a life, and they decide to take the life. I mean, they were at 7, so it's not too harsh for them. And they get an active trigger, which doesn't do much here at that stage of the game. But now it's fairly even. They have the life lead by 1. Their energy generation is set. They have 2 Armins on the board, so it's scary, but it's fairly even. If they had another Mikasa, I would be terrified because they can just remove Gojo if they wanted to, because they have 2 Armins on the board, and I can't do anything about that. So I do block one of the 4Ks here, take 1, get the get trigger for another Gojo, and I'm deciding if I want to block or not. I don't. I find my straw doll technique finally, so I was praising the Lord that I did. And what happened there? They attacked with all 3, right? Yeah, I took 2 damage. Okay. But yeah, I find the straw doll technique. It does go to the sideline, but it's not bad for this deck because I have 2 of my Nobaras anyways. So I switch this to I push this to the front line, set it to rest in Armin, and doing sort of the same thing I did in the last game, resting the wrong targets, to be honest. I should have left the Armins up, forcing them to block out with him, instead of the play that I do go for. So I used both my Kugasakis to arrest both of these. Really shouldn't have. I should have rested one of the Kugasakis, rested the Mikasa, used the straw doll technique to get rid of her, and then I had well, I needed to play this for 1, right? So I would have 2, and then I would have 1 more, and I probably shouldn't be playing this Gojo right now. I think the idea is to get my front line a bit stronger, have 2 5Ks on the board, and then use the Gojo ability to cheat out the next card, which is the sideline event, sidelining the Mikasa. But like I said, I think the better play here, is resting one of these to rest the Mikasa, playing out the straw doll technique that I will grab from the trash eventually, and then attacking 3 times, forcing them to block and lose some characters instead of attacking twice. And one of these has impact, so one of them is actually just not going to get blocked. So just a much better play to leave this as active. Something that you see if you want to take this deck a bit more serious, and learn all the play lines and the synergies. that I just couldn't see. Because like I said, and I hope you guys see it, this isn't a bad deck. It is got options. It's got strength. So we go into the attack phase. I attack in with impact. They get a get trigger, I believe. Yeah, they get a get trigger, and the sim bugs and sidelines my Gojo for some reason. Yeah, he's saying there's a bug with the sim, so I was just making sure it wasn't a trigger that I missed. So then I attack in with 4K, and do they take this, or do they? I think they used the Aaron here. Oh yeah. So he just wants to take it, and it bugged out. So I have to pass the turn. They get an active trigger, which is good for me because I would much rather have the active triggers now than when I have more attackers on the board. But for now, they've got to do a little bit more rebuilding. Oh, I remember this turn. So I think the most of the bugs with the sim today has been like, what's the word? Desync, I guess. Because their AP doesn't restand when it should, or like it used to, I should say. And this turn was just so confusing. I really don't know what was going on. I just let my opponent do what they need to, and trust that they were playing it properly. Because I believe an event comes down on my screen, and then AP restand. Yeah, this event comes down, and then AP restands, and then yeah, AP restanding. But he doesn't play out the cards. But then he draws more. So I honestly don't know if it was a bug, or something else was going on. It was just a misplay in order maybe. And yeah, and then another one comes down. And so then but then they get this raid, Aaron out, which if you guys remember, when attacking, you get to top deck one of your own characters and play out a 3 or less 104 cadet corpse to the front line is active, and it returns to your hand. And then it bugs again, so it doesn't let him attack. So he's attacking with this Aaron first. He is only a 4K, so I'll block it with 5. And then he attacks with the Armin, and I block with this Kugisaki on purpose, because I want to push up this Inumaki with Nullify Impact now, because they have the Aaron on the front line. So he attacks and uses his effect, and then he would essentially attack here for 3K, and then I would just block for 4K. So he just fast tracks it. So now we can start the actual turn. And then yeah, I should push up this Inumaki here just to ensure that I have Nullify Impact, because this game is getting mighty close. But now I have, oh right. So pushing up this Inumaki allows me to rest him, to rest this what's his name? Aaron. And then with him rested, I get to play this Kugisaki, grabbing the sideline event from hand, adding it to my hand, using it to sideline the card. And now I put my opponent in a situation where they essentially have to lose bodies, or at least one body, because both of my Gojos have impact, so they can't let that one go through. So I swing impact twice, just praying that it's not a silent trigger, and it bugs again, so we have to go and do it manually. So I'm saying these two, and they do get a sideline trigger. Unfortunate. So they sideline the Gojo, which I do think is correct here, because they don't want any free blocks without me losing a body. And then they play out the super Armin turn, just filling up their front line with Armins. When they played the Armin, I got so terrified that they had a Mikasa in hand. Especially when the second one came down, I was like, oh no, it's over. Because if they had a Mikasa, they can use the Armins when played to add 1,000 to our BP range, raiding over this one, KOing either the Kugisaki or the Inumaki, leaving me with 2 cards on the field, and they would have had 3 swings. Actually, no, it wouldn't have been over then. Yeah, never mind. It wouldn't have been over. It would have been over. Never mind. I was scaring myself for no reason. Because I would have had 2 blocks and they would have had 3 swings, so only 1 attack would have went through, which would have been fine by me. I miscount here, and I for some reason I was tweaking, so he does get to use his activate main, which reactivates his when played ability. So it actually gives +2 from this one, +2 from this one, and +1 from this one. And so yeah, they're correct here. I just miscounted. So I take the first one, I have the get trigger, and then I block out the second one. And then yeah, he says GG's and I love your vids. You see me type honk because I'm like, there's no way somebody actually found me. So that's if you're watching, that's what I was laughing at. I wasn't laughing at you, I was laughing at myself. So I was like, huh? Who found me through YouTube? But yeah, so I attack in with impact, and then yeah, I have to pass it to them because it bugged again, and it's just a color trigger, so I win. So GG's to you, Setsino, I believe that's your name. Nice playing with you, and thanks for watching. So yeah, that is the games for today. So let's talk about this deck list. I do think there is a stronger way to play this deck list. So I was not running these Inumakis, but I do think it is a good card. One sideline, choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line and switch to resting. The reason why I wasn't playing this card is because, one, y'all know me. Well, this is already a really low trigger deck for me, only 40 trigger cards in here. But this card has no trigger. And 2, unlike like these other arresting abilities where it happens on my turn, this can only really be well, I wouldn't get its full value coming from my opponent's turn or off triggers, because the reason why I want cards resting is either to freeze them or to use this straw doll technique, but this has to be on my main phase. So if I'm blocking with this and it gets sidelined and I get to arrest an opponent's character, yes, that's strong to stop them from attacking, but it doesn't really combo into this hairpin because they'll stand up at the end of their attack phase. These seem to be all good. I thought about this panda. For a long time. I don't know if he could be good or not. He has step, he's a double energy generator, and also if he's rated, he has double block, impact 1 and plus 1,000 BP. So he becomes a 4K with double block, which, you know, can be strong. But I just didn't I didn't find space for him because it would force me to add these base cards as well to even get these raid effects. So I don't know what all I can cut for just these. This panda is a vanilla non-trigger again, but it has step, and this panda is the same thing, but it's 3 energy, has an active trigger, but it has step and double energy generation. So maybe there's an idea to drop But I really like these Makis. I really like these double energy generators because they're low cost. So yeah, I just don't think there's space for this panda. Three cost is pretty high. If I were to force it in, it would probably be for this Maki. Um, or for both of these, I would run like this instead of those three. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 to finish it out. Um, but you know, that's neither here nor there. Uh, 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 I think that's it. All these other cards really synergize well with other decks. Um, this has been one of the harder decks for me to make because this does have 2 volumes. So there's just more cards to look through and see what combos with what. But we're gonna get to these new decks, especially this Megami deck soon. I did play this before at my locals. A friend allowed me to borrow his Megami deck, and it's also a really strong little board filling deck. But that's pretty much it for the video today. Like I said, thank you all so much for watching and for the recent support. Yeah, come out and come to play play on Cardboard Kitsune. It's free. It's just through your browser. You don't got to download anything. But it allows you to try out the game. Yeah, if you stayed for this long, you might as well like the video because you obviously liked the video. If you stayed for what has it been, an hour? And if you like Union Arena and Riftbound, because I'm figuring out Riftbound, be sure to subscribe so you know when those videos come out and you get a little bit of entertainment. So I will see you all on the next one. Goodbye.